Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants. How are you doing this Friday afternoon or morning, depending upon which time zone you're in? We're going to be talking today about how the freelance economy is changing for those 50 plus baby boomers. I've noticed some trends. I've had an opportunity over the last few months to travel to a few conferences now for the first time in a number of years, 2.5 years basically, and had the opportunity to sort of get together with fellow baby boomers and 50 plus and just hear directly what's happening, where things are going, how people are working out this next phase as they come out of the pandemic and get away from the lockdown situations. They're contemplating their future and how all the pieces fit together, and that's very good. And hi, Marianne, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. Very good to see you there. And Jeanette, good to see you as well. Thanks for stopping by. And so I guess one of the things that I've learned, and I'm just preparing a presentation that I'm giving next week, and I've had to research a lot of current articles on the topic because things really are changing very fast, and the likelihood of doing freelancing is looming much larger for the 50 plus crowd because more and more companies are relying on freelancing. Companies that never did this before, especially smaller businesses. And I know this is one thing that's very comforting to our members who come in and are baby boomers that are learning how to freelance and that kind of thing, is it's much more comfortable to work with a small business than it is to work in some sort of corporate hierarchy and something where you're going to be expected to use all these different tools and that kind of thing. Most of the assignments that we direct our folks towards are simple assignments that are posted by small businesses or even individuals. A lot of times you'll run across authors, consultants, people like that who are looking for somebody to help them in their business and to do those things that they don't do so well, and having somebody take care of that kind of stuff. It could be anything from booking travel to creating a Google Drive to store things on, a common storage area. Somebody I talked to recently got an assignment to do that, which is pretty straightforward. You could watch a YouTube video or two and know exactly how to do that. But the issue is that a lot of people don't know how to do that. And I was always amazed when I worked for Apple, and 30 plus years ago now, when we went into business organizations, which is the part of the business I was mostly in, among those of us that were in those organizations, we realized that most people in a company or organization, nonprofit or whatever, would only use about 5 to 10% of the capability of the computer that they had. And in many ways, this was a tragedy, because if somebody just had a few simple pointers on how to do something, or they had a certain piece of software that would automate what they're doing or that kind of thing, they could get so much more out of the time they spend at their desktop. And the same is true today. But the good news is today is that the tools are much easier to use. It's much easier now for 50 plus to come up to speed on software. Plus, we've all had 20 years now of buying things on Amazon and using Microsoft Office for the most part. And the technological push-up is not the challenge it once was. I remember when I first started working with people, 16, 17 years ago, helping my freelance clients come up to speed on some of the sharing tools we were using and that kind of thing. It was pretty arduous to get things running. As you know, because you've lived through it. You download a piece of software and it's supposed to do this, but it doesn't. So then what do you do? And you have to start poking around in there. And so we've all gone to school on solving those problems. We've all gotten better and better at our technology stuff. We also now have things like YouTube. And if you ever have a question about how to use a product or how to use some aspect of a product, how do I make a mailing label with Microsoft Word? There's going to be 100 videos out there that show you exactly how to do it. And if you're on a Mac, you put in Mac and it'll show you just the ones that talk about Mac. And if you put in PC, it'll show you just the ones that talk about, your particular laptop. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about, in one of the ways that freelancing is changing, and this is important because it is getting a little bit more competitive with baby boomers. Prior to the pandemic, I talked to lots of people at conferences and workshops and that kind of thing. And some would say, I've got my retirement set. I don't think I need to work. I think I'm going to just retire and enjoy things. And, that was then. And this is now. We have the specter of inflation, which is certainly undesirable. And anybody that's filled up their car at the gas pump knows that things are more expensive. And all the things in your grocery store got there courtesy of a truck, typically, that delivered it. And so the cost of that kind of thing is going up, and more baby boomers or 50 plus are considering this idea of freelancing. It's a practical, not a full measure, not going back into employment, but going back into a relationship with a small business company, individual entrepreneur, and helping them put all that stuff together in a way that they can earn an income and offset some of the inflationary pressure that we're seeing right now. I mean, in my mind, the good news is, being a baby boomer, we've all lived through these ups and downs. And I just am, sort of mortified when people recoil at the sort of the whole economic situation and say the sky is falling. If you go back and you look at the economy going back to the early 1900s to now and follow things like stock market growth and all that kind of thing, everything is always up. And what seems like an extremely big trauma right now is actually not, as you look historically over all measures of the economy. I mean, things have been getting better for 100 years pretty much. And yes, we've had a few dips, but things actually recover pretty quickly. In fact, I was just looking, I might be able to look this up while we're online. Let's see, stock market. Let me see here. Dow Jones. Oh, it's not letting me do it. Hold on one second. Well, what I wanted to show you, because I took a look at this earlier today, and the stock market, it's down now, and it's painful for people that have money in stocks and that sort of thing. It's just and the news, when we tend to get in one of these periods, the news feeds on itself, and now it feeds on itself even more than it ever has before. So it creates this, sort of false illusion that things are really going to be tough, and they certainly are when you have to pay a lot to fill up your car at the gas pump or commute to work or whatever it might be. But the sky hasn't fallen and won't fall typically if history is any indication. These ebbs and flows are normal corrections in the marketplace. There are certain things, uh, you know, political changes and things go one way for a little while and they go another way for a little while. And these things tend to even out, but much better than even out. They tend to uh, have climbed over the decades, and even just over um, the last 5 or 6 years, the stock market, even where it is today, which a lot of people are walking around with sad faces, but it's still up by, I don't know, a full 30 or 40% over what it was just 5 or 6 years ago. So it's a time to really put things in perspective. And because baby boomers are putting things in perspective and thinking about what's going on, this is a situation that says it might make sense to look at freelancing. And so that's what I'm hearing a lot when I'm at a conference and people know what we do and they walk up to our booth or they come into one of our workshops or that kind of thing. That's the mindset. They say, it might be time for me to take a look at freelancing just till we get through this rough patch. And also another big factor in freelancing, I think, is this whole idea of staying busy, staying relevant, no small task, keeping up with your computer technology. We all know that that's something that's pretty important to stay current with. One of the challenges of software in years past is that if you don't use the software, say for a few weeks or a month or something like that, you kind of have to go back and relearn it. And many of us are at the point now where the software we use, we're just using all the time, so it's not that big a deal. It's easy to stay on top of that. And so the idea of the 50 plus individual being more receptive to this freelancing creates a pool of people now that can go out and pursue this stuff. So it is a little bit more important to have your profile done correctly, to focus on your keywords so you can be very strategic in the jobs that you work on. And this is something that we talk a lot about on our Tuesday night call, is how to be strategic versus just tactical. One of the things that happens on many of these networks is you get in there and you've got tens of thousands of jobs that are coming up for you. How do you ever deal with something like that? You can't look through 10,000 jobs, but if you have the correct strategic keywords, you can narrow that list down to a half a dozen to a dozen jobs, and that's really important. That's practical. You can look at those and pick the ones that really jump out at you as the kind of work that you want to be doing, as the kind of clients you want to be working with, and make that happen. It's a great thing. We like to talk about these domains of knowledge, and this is one of the things that most 50 plus people don't really know that they have in their hip pocket. It's like a hidden savings account with a domain of knowledge where they have the ability to bring a lot of expertise, a lot of problem solving skills, and a lot of knowledge about, say, it might be an industry, it might be, like the aviation industry or the consumer goods industry or building and construction, just whatever the industry might be. And then they also have skills that they've honed over time. And it might be something like proofreading, writing. They may be very good with PowerPoint. And it's the intersection of that domain of knowledge and the skill set where 50 plus can earn the most income. That's the key to really getting traction in this whole world of being online and making things happen on behalf of your freelance buyer that's hiring you to do this work. So the third thing that I wanted to talk about is many people 50 plus that normally would have continued working in a an office or working for somebody that they've been employed with for a number of years are now considering, since they enjoyed it so much, working at home. And I've had conversations recently with several companies that are not going to let their employees work at home. But their organization is pleading with their high expertise baby boomer employee to stay on for another 2 years, 5 years, whatever it might be. And freelancing is a solution to solving that. And you'll see lots of people turning to freelancing, turning to organizations like Upwork and Freelancer and getting set up there and then being hired back by their organization to do specific work that relates to their area of expertise. And the advantage to that, number one, it gives the 50 plus person the opportunity to work from home, to be a freelancer, to have all the benefits of that, the ability to set your own schedule for the most part and that kind of thing. But it also gives you the ability to work for other clients. And that's the pretty exciting part of this. And so a number of people that I've talked to and counseled on this want to go out. They want to leave the company they're with as an employee, go back and work part-time for that company to continue to provide the expertise that they were providing, and then also seek out other freelance work in these job and project networks. So lots of good ways to move and companies are much more willing to negotiate this kind of relationship now, because the alternative is the Great Resignation. I'm sure you've seen the articles where people are leaving in droves, going to organizations that from organizations to their own deal. And so this has created a lot of interesting sort of mixing up of the whole employee contractor workflow dynamic that, of course, has created opportunity. The Chinese symbol for, let's see, what is it? For prosperity, I think it is the idea of danger meeting opportunity. And so that's, kind of where we are. If you get up and look at the news today and you see the markets are down or whatever it might be, and bad economic forecast and gas prices are going to rise and all that kind of stuff, what that means is there's more opportunity. People have to do more things in different ways or ways they're not used to doing those, or frankly, they may need just more help to keep up the pace of what it is they're doing. So this is a great opportunity for freelancing, and all the signs and all the business press point to the value of freelancing. In fact, this presentation that I'm working on, let me share some of it with you as soon as I can get this on the right page. Here we go. Oops, yeah, it doesn't want to let me do that. Share screen. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. My two screen thing might be messing me up here. 1 second. Here we go. So you see that here we've got an article from CBS. Growing number of Americans are leaving full-time jobs for freelance work. A lot of that happening. Here's an article from a sort of an entrepreneurial magazine. Why so many people are freelancing. Half of the U.S. workforce will be freelancing by 2027. Lots of predictions in that, in that realm, things that we're seeing. This is an article that appeared in Forbes recently, and they're talking about the growth of freelance platforms. Those are the places where you go to work as a freelancer. And right now it's estimated there's about 150 to 200 platforms. These are websites that you can do virtual work, remote work on, and they're predicting, let's see, who is this? I think this is McKinsey, is estimating 800 to 1,000 platforms. Actually, this is maybe it's the Center for the Transformation of Work. There's been a lot of funding that's gone into by venture capitalists that has gone into companies that are serving the freelance market. And of course, this is one of the things, number 4 here, that we all like, is it's going to be easier and easier to get paid. It's pretty easy to get paid now, but there's a real emphasis on getting paid, faster and in a more streamlined way. And this article is from last year, but it does highlight the point that the pandemic did create a huge growth in remote freelance work. It's just common sense. All the business owners and nonprofit management and even government organizations realized that yes, people can work from home productively. Another interesting article on who's driving the Great Resignation. This is largely a phenomenon of people that are 50 plus, people that have typically more resources and they have more confidence in their skill set and that kind of thing are better able to make that move. If you've got 20 or 30 years experience, it's a lot more comfortable moving out on your own potentially than if you've got, if you're in your 20s and don't have that experience base to draw on. And then here's another one. This is the kind of thing, this is also from Forbes, which actually follows the freelance world very closely, is that your return to the office plan needs freelancers. All very important concepts as we return to work there. So yes, thanks, Marianne. Yeah, the Chinese characters are very interesting. My daughter is in China now, and she's fluent in Chinese and been there for a number of years. And she knows how to make all the symbols and everything. And in order to understand what the symbols mean, you have to understand the historical stories that go with the symbols and the myths that go along with the symbols and that kind of thing. And it is that the greatest opportunity never lies on the paved road. It's usually heading out into the forest or whatever it might be, whatever the metaphor is, to go look for that area of opportunity. And that's certainly what freelancing is about. And with new networks opening up really every month now, that many of them open up. They're not general networks. They're very specific freelance networks around certain kinds of workers, certain kinds of industries, that kind of thing. And boy, we've just seen a lot of that. A lot of businesses still say they can't hire the right talent. We're in an unemployment situation. And this is what's so weird about the situation that we're in right now, where we have inflation, but we basically have full employment. And that actually, in my mind, speaks very well for the economy in the future, as soon as some of these things, sort of play themselves out in terms of the ebb and flow of the economy, because it shows tremendous, in my mind, resilience there with what we're doing, and will give us a chance to straighten things out in a more favorable way. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. Happy to answer any questions you might have, any comments, and look forward to seeing our members on our Tuesday night call, and seeing everybody else back here on our Facebook Friday, and encourage you to have a great weekend and have a great week freelancing. See you soon.